Oh, hey, welcome back. I'm Brian.
I'm Melissa.
And today we're just going to get into some random topics that we just thought about. Let's see if you can relate to these.
Like silly regrets. Have you ever regretted anything? I hope not, but probably so. Like one time when I went into the Chipotle parking lot and my little angel said, turn right. And I was like, I'm going to turn left. I regret that because I got sandwiched in the parking lot, and then I was trying to do like an Austin Powers like 6-point turn, and someone backed into me, and then 3 weeks later I had a rental car and it smelled like weed, and I couldn't drive without the windows being rolled down all the way, and I went to work smelling like the ganja.
Yeah, I mean, this smell was so strong. You open the door in the morning, oh my goodness. And I had my windows up. I had to air my own car out on the way to work. It was this bad.
Febreze didn't work, of course. And guess what my job is? I work at a church. I'm a youth minister. And I roll in smelling like weed because I had to get a rental because I turned left when I should have turned right. Regret.
Isn't that how they do it these days? Hey, did you really hear a voice?
Was it a voice? It was kind of like my heart saying, yeah, you should turn left.
Okay. So my regret story, a little light humor one. There's bigger regrets. We can get into those later. But I think it was in 6th grade. You guys may remember if you're watching. A little bet between me and Kurt and Eric. And I won't reveal the last names. But anyways, because they're still wanted for this incident. But basically they had betted me to drop a stink bomb in math class, right? So I had one of those. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's like the yellow liquid inside a crystal. These things are lethal. I didn't know at the time when I got it from like a fair, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, math class. There'll probably be like a little like, oh, someone farted, right? Thankfully, I didn't do it. The idea was to put it under a garbage can and then like crush down on the can. But however the events rolled that day, maybe my angel, it didn't happen. But what did happen is later on in the PE locker room, high school. Now we were 6th grade, like I said, but we would go over to the high school. Eventually I had my chance, so I throw it down right in the middle of the locker room. It was a huge locker room too, by the way, just like different rooms and stuff. And it didn't even break. And I thought I was a ninja when I did it, by the way. But it didn't break. I stomp on it. The thing instantly, I think of like the movie Terminator when the nuke bomb goes off. It's like a dream vision and it just like covers them. I mean, it was so bad. People were screaming and yelling. It smelled for like a week. And I was a good kid too. And they just made me like stand on the wall for like the whole week facing the bleachers. And it was like, what did this kid who's usually good do? And the thing is I didn't really even know how bad it would be. So there's a regret story.
Oh, regrets. What about when you eat cookies? Do you regret that?
Oh my gosh. Okay. This is my kryptonite. Well, I should say my desire for cookies. Yeah, I regret the thousands of cookies that I've eaten because this probably hasn't helped my health. How about you and cookies?
I had 2 sugar cookies yesterday. You know the kind at Walmart or like City Market or whatever. It's like just the sugar cookie with a 2-inch thick sugar frosting on top with the sprinkles. Those are my kryptonite. They're terrible, but so good. And I had one yesterday and I was like, okay, that's my treat. I just have one. I don't need another. But of course, I ate another one. And why do I regret it? Nothing bad happened immediately. Thankfully, my body's recovering and I can handle some of that stuff a little bit better these days. But I know that it was not good for me. Like, ultimately, I just put a sugar bomb in my body and it's toxin. It's toxin.
I mean, yeah. And like, a little dessert's probably okay. But when you get to this level, it's not okay. And the problem is, the reason it turns into regret is lack of control.
Oh
boy.
So,
how about bedtimes? Let's get into this topic.
Bedtimes. What time did you go to bed last night?
Oh boy. So she worked late and I was in bed. I mean, my average these days is like 8:08. 8:30 if I'm staying up on a weeknight. And what time do I get up? I don't want to disclose that, but I'm sleeping quite a bit because I just need it. How about you? What's your normal bedtimes?
So my bedtime is all over the place, which I don't like. I am a very regimented and scheduled person. I do well with some not restrictions, but with structure. But with my job, I don't get that. So sometimes I'm going to bed at 8, sometimes I'm going to bed at 9:30. Like last night, I didn't get to bed until 11, and I was dragging today, and I had to in my car, I had to tell myself, you don't need coffee. You're not going to depend on something. You're going to go into this job. You're going to be happy because you love it. And that's what's going to drive your light and your force and your energy. And it worked for the most part. But
So nature catches up and says, this clown, you can't talk your way out of this. You gotta sleep.
I should have slept.
Yeah, when you mess with that circadian rhythm and uneven or an alternating sleep schedule, that will wreak havoc because we really are programmed to the sun and getting into these routines. And even myself, I throw myself off. And if they say, like, even on the weekends, which is hard to do because you want to stay up a little later, something, right? Sleep in, they say even that can throw you off. And I think we feel it as we get older a little bit more than others. All right, how about the topic of procrastination?
Yeah, does that have to do with bedtimes and procrastinating, making you go to bed later?
It definitely can. It's definitely on my mind because right now, tomorrow is like our deadline for students. Some of my students, how's it going? Hopefully you're doing your homework right now. Here's the deal. We're under what's called proficiency-based grading. So it's a little different than your traditional, which all of us and all of mankind basically kind of grew up with, for the most part. And they kind of don't really have a deadline until the end of the semester. So they are always working on making progress and showing evidence of proficiency, of learning, right? But back in the day, we just got a test and then we moved on, right? And it's not like that anymore. Now it's like, well, if you failed, we're going to move the class on, but you can go back and do stuff. So what do students do if they procrastinate? Oh, this ain't really due until the last day of the year. So, I've been teaching all, quarter, semester, and some students were kind of no-shows. Where were they? Did I not go over this topic? And all of a sudden, it's the last day. I don't know what to do, that kind of deal, right? And we do it as adults, too. It's like in our human nature. I'm not trying to pick on students. It's in our nature. And what is that?
I just think that, we desire to play, and we are naturally lazy. And so, unless we're either very anxious and, some people, I just marvel at some people who just get things done and they want to get it done. They're on top of their game. Most of us just want to play and enjoy life and kick back and enjoy the sunshine, and then we just let time slip away.
Almost like you need the deadline to get going. Yeah. And I'm actually one of those weird people that does do my work right away. So it's even harder for me to understand, man, or student or whoever, wouldn't you want to just get this done and then play guilt-free? I'm always like, hey, it's Friday, 2 weeks before the end of the semester. But for some of you, this should be a weekend where you're really getting it done, but they still are on vacation mode. I'm like, don't you feel like this nag in the back of your head? There's this work coming, I should do this, and then I could totally play. But everyone's wired a little bit differently.
Yeah, and is there a balance of where you're not overworking yourself, you take breaks, right? They say that's the best thing. You're not just plowing through everything, but you're working hard, taking sufficient breaks, you're getting rested, but you're still plugging along.
That's a beautiful question. I think that's actually a deep question we won't get into, but I think that's mastery of will. Total control of thyself, right? Same with the cookies. I'll have a few, but I won't have 10.
You had 10 today.
Oh my gosh. I mean, did I? It might have been. So that's interesting balance. Who has that kind of control? And freedom at the same time to not feel like you have to go either way.
Right. I like that.
How about the last topic?
I don't know if you can see it.
It's a lot of sweat. I have to get that all off of there. But the old wife woke up with a little something this weekend.
I had a tick on me.
A tick?
It was terrible. I felt violated.
She was screaming. So I was in the other bathroom, and all of a sudden I hear these screams. Oh my goodness! And I'm like, what? What happened?
Okay, I usually don't get squeamish about spiders. Actually, I like spiders. Tarantulas, fine. Snakes, I used to want one, or a lot. And bears, mountain lions, don't bother me. But little bugs that crawl on you, when you don't even know about it, and then they inject you with this lethal, well, okay, maybe not lethal, but they inject you with antiseptic so you don't even feel them biting you and sucking your blood out. Those freak me out. That's why I'll never go to the Amazon. But I had a tick because last Thursday after work, that's my Friday, I decided to go take a nice little walk in the woods, and I just had a great time by myself. And little did I know there's this little creature waiting on a branch or a leaf or a grass, waiting to jump on me, his host, and suck my blood out. And it was a Lone Star tick. So if you're in the Midwest, if you're in Illinois, they're out.
And the funny thing is I don't think it was on her arms, because that would have been pretty obvious to me, and I saw her that night. It was either in her hair, she brought it into the bedroom, something and then it came back out during the night and basically hooked onto her. And let's just talk real briefly, because the removal is interesting. I would have just been like, boom! But why can't you do that, babe? She was smart on this one.
Okay, so again, just being a camper and backpacker, and a park ranger, ticks, also freak me out, so I want to make sure that I don't have ticks, because when I was little, I saw a friend who had tick, and they're like, she didn't notice it, and so it started burrowing in her skin, and her flesh was like, it looked like it was rotting. At least that's how I remember it from being a little kid. And so like ticks have always freaked me out. So anyways, so you have to like make sure that you get like there are tick removal tools, which I suggest, or like tweezers, not the eyebrow tweezers, but like the medical tweezers with like the real like fine points. You have to like put those around like the mouth, because it has these little two prongs where it like injects where it starts feeding on you. And so you try to get as close as you can to the mouth, those prongs, and you pull up. Okay, you have to go straight up, because if you break off the mouth, well, some people say that like once the body's attached, it can't like vomit the saliva in you, and that's where like the bacteria and potential for like Lyme disease comes from. So you don't want any part to get left behind. So that's why you have to use the tick removal tool or the tweezers, and you have to pull up. But like this thing didn't want to let go, so I was like pulling my skin up in the tweezers, trying not to crunch it, and then finally, so I was like tugging on it as lightly and as forcefully as possible. Finally, he came loose, and he was like scurrying on my tweezers, and I was freaking out in the bathroom, and I like threw it in the toilet, flushed him down. But I just didn't think I would react quite like that. I've been bitten by a tick before. And again, I'm not really the type of person to scream.
Yeah, I was very impressed when you pulled it off. I didn't have the patience. So here's a little bring it full circle. We talked about procrastination a little bit earlier. I'm a guy who just wants to get things done. So I would have been probably too quick on that. I'd be like, no, I'd probably try a couple. No, because he literally, like, she had the body up and the prong or whatever it was still in her. And I'd be like, oh, let's do it. But you don't want to break the body or whatever, right? So you did it like over and over, and the thing was just like holding on, its little antenna or whatever it is, stuck in her arm. The rest of the body's like free. I would have been like, I can't handle this. Like a surgeon, I'll never be able to do that on the patients. But you did a great job pulling that guy out.
Thanks. So, you might want to check for ticks everywhere.
All right, let us know what's going on in your life. Maybe you can relate to some of these stories.
And if you have any random events as of late, please share them in the comments below.
Thanks for coming by.
Ciao, ciao.